Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. We're not done yet. The season is not over. Whew. My goodness. That was a big game. Yeah, there's many more to come. And yeah, it hasn't been the best of seasons, to put it mildly. But Spurs won a big game they needed to win. And there was this weird kind of air of confidence. I don't know if it was shared among the crowd or not. The crowd were great. The crowd was so noisy. The noise before kickoff was up there with the loudest noises I've heard at the stadium for a long time. So maybe there was a bit of confidence. But there was this weird kind of air of confidence among journalists as well. I don't know if I said it in the last video or not, but I certainly have said it privately to a few other journalists. I just had this feeling that Spurs were going to get through. We were going to get at least one more European adventure. Not quite to the degree of confidence that some of the other journalists had. One journalist booked their hotel in Frankfurt about a week ago. No, actually it was a couple of days. It wouldn't have been a week. It was a couple of days after the first leg, which obviously no one was expecting a second leg win then. Maybe that's the best time to book. Another journalist booked their certainly accommodation in Frankfurt at half time yesterday in the game. I just couldn't jinx it. I just couldn't bring myself to do it, even though I knew financially it made sense. I waited until this morning. I don't want to be the person that somehow indirectly caused Tottenham harm. Oh dear. But hey, they made it through. It was a good night. There was good football on display. There was plenty of good stuff actually on the night. There's a couple of iffy moments, and especially their goal. But on the whole, I think many people there probably enjoyed themselves. And that's been too few and far between this season. Moments and nights like that. Probably Europe has provided it, hasn't it, on the whole? Some of the cup competitions as well in the moments, but in Europe, we had the night when the three youngsters scored, didn't we? Scarlett, Ajayi and Moore, which was great. And this was a big, much needed night to keep this season going. And I did think it was entirely fitting that the goal that kind of won this huge game was a goal that was entirely an Ange Postecoglou trained and style kind of goal. You might remember it started with Wilson Odobert intercepting the ball. Romero, I think, had tried to play a pass to Porro, which didn't quite work. RZ had got the ball back. Odobert ran in, intercepted the ball, which he did a couple of times, actually, for the goal as well, which deserved more than it ended up with, as in the RZ goal. So Odobert intercepts it. He knocks it back to Porro. Porro gives the ball to Romero. Romero's pressed, plays it back to Vicario. Vicario knocks it sideways to Archie Gray. Again, Archie Gray is pressed, lets the ball run across his body. Really mature kind of little move, a bit Maddison-esque for the second goal. Gray finds Spence. Spence looks up to see who his option is as he's come short himself. Maddison has come back to provide an option. Plays it to Maddison. Maddison makes this lovely little kind of run, and this dummy lets the ball roll across him. Oh, actually, it was for that goal. I'm talking about the same goal. Maddison runs away with it, gets up the pitch, sends it back to Spence. Spence feeds Son down the line. Sonny holds the ball up brilliantly, just comes inside, lets Spence run past him, knocks into his path. Spence knocks it low. Dominic Solanke back flicks it, and there is Odobert at the back post to knock the ball in the net. It was classic Postecoglou football, the kind of stuff that we'd hoped we'd see so much more of. Yeah, they scored a lot of goals this season, of course they have, but that was pure, beautiful football. 9 players touched the ball, load of passes in there as well, and just beautiful. And the fact that Odobert was the one that started the move with the interception, sprinted all the way up the pitch in, the 73rd minute to put the finishing touch on it. Love it. Such a lovely goal. It really was. To be there to prod the ball home that sends Spurs into Europa League quarterfinals. Lovely stuff. Absolutely lovely stuff. It was that kind of breathless football that I guess we expected to see so much more of. Maybe we'll start to see it now that the players are back and fresher, and there's a little bit more to the squad now. That's my hope. That would be wonderful. I think it just reminded everyone that when the players are fully kind of committed on the pitch and in full belief of this kind of swashbuckling style of football, that's what it will produce. And Maddison actually said after the game, he said, to be fair to the gaffer and the coaches, we've worked on that this week. That was literally a carbon copy of that move against RZ in the group stage here that didn't lead to a goal. We came up low down the left-hand side. Ben Davies played it into me, and I managed to roll away from my man, and I put Timo on the break. We didn't score from that exact attack. I think we got a cross in and got a corner, but we worked on Jed going low and me supporting really low in the build-up because their midfield has a lot of distance to cover. I checked my shoulder, and the defender was rushing to press me, and sometimes the best touch you can have is actually not to touch it at all. I kind of faked and a little drop of the shoulder. I let it run across me, and then I have the power runners like Jed and Sonny, so I let them go because they're a little bit quicker than me. So I did my job. Jed and Sonny, beautiful overlap from Jed. Again, credit to the gaffer and the coaches. We work on the overlaps and the winger being at the back stick. How many times have you seen Brennan Johnson score that goal at the back stick? And today it was Wilson. It's something we work on, and I think they'll be pleased with that. But, apparently Postecoglou and his coaches don't do any coaching. It just happens by magic. Thank goodness for the players. Yay. Yeah. Anyway, the coaching staff were delighted. You could see that down on the in the dugout. You could see it from where the press box is. They were very, very happy with that goal. Not just for what it was, I think, but for what it represented, I guess, as well, in the style of football they're trying to get into these players. And the fact that they were, high energy. All 3 goals came from turning over the ball. And it just shows what they can capable of when they're all fit and fresh, I guess, is a part of it as well. There's some interesting stuff coming tonight at 10:30 from Postecoglou on various aspects of that and across the league in general as well. He was asked about that last goal, the third goal, the winning goal, the goal that sent them through to the quarterfinals, being an archetypal Postecoglou goal and kind of what it meant. And he said, I think it is important because, look, all goals are important, and particularly in a game like this, but when you score something like that, a goal is so much of the core of our attacking phases and we work so hard on, and I think the players get belief out of that. It does work. Belief that it does work. Having Dom in there gives you a real focal point, and just having his presence in the box, the ability to have guys like Maddison and Sonny fresh today to be able to run at the opposition, there are just things we haven't had the luxury of in the last 3.5 months. I think it was a really good foundational game for us to build on because I still feel like we will improve because of the nature of where people are at. I couldn't be happy with the players. They deserve to get through, and now we're into the quarterfinals of a European competition, which I think is exciting. It is exciting. Yay. We haven't had a lot of excitement, especially in the Premier League. But it's very cool. It really is. And as I kind of touched upon there, all 3 goals came about because of Spurs' hard work in winning the ball back. This is kind of what we said before as well. The passing moves, the getting the ball from back to front and passing out from the back, beating the press is great, but it has to be backed up by the Spurs players' own hard work in winning the ball back themselves in the first place. And that was on show last night. We saw all 3 goals came of it. First one, 25 minutes in. Sonny closes down the RZ left back. Rutegoes, I'm going to go. It was a pronunciation. It was a kind of overhit pass, put him in some trouble. Sonny ran down. I don't think he realised that Sonny was that close to him. So he smashed his pass right against Sonny. Touch of fortune, of course, as it was for RZ's goal. The ball falls perfectly across for Solanke. Solanke's there's an opportunity maybe if he's taking a split shot to curl it into the net himself, but he just had this moment of calm. He could see defenders kind of converging on him, knocked it off to the side to the onrushing Odobert. Odobert smashes into the net. 1-0, beautiful. That's what everyone needed. First 20-25 minutes or so, you could see it was going to be tough to break them down. So sometimes you just have to capitalise on a bit of an error, but it also, not just an error, it's a forced error because of the way Sonny went about it. So that's gets the ball rolling. Crowd are up. You can feel terrific. Second goal didn't come until early in the second half. It did come after a bit of a scary moment when Vicario did a little kind of drag back, Cruyff turn pirouette, whatever you want to call it, and the attacker absolutely read it. I'm trying to think who it was. I don't know. I don't think it was Troy Parrott. I can't remember. Either way, no, it wasn't Troy Parrott. It was red, and it was like, oh no, and it was like, oh no, this could be an absolute disaster where they shoot themselves in their foot. But thankfully, he manages to get the ball away, goes off for a throw, and actually from, I think it was that ensuing throw-in that RZ had, there's a little bit of a phase of play, but then Pedro Porro wins the ball back. Really nice, kind of gets his leg in. It's a really good moment. Inch perfect. That sets Odobert away. Odobert sprints up the pitch. He knocks into Maddison's path. Maddison exchanges passes with Sonny. Again, a nice kind of cut inside from Sonny. Another assist for him this season. Maddison turns inside, curls the ball. It wasn't even into the corner. I think the goalkeeper was onside. It just had to be enough that the keeper couldn't get near it. And it was. Perfect. 2-0. Spurs in the lead, finally in the tie. Brilliant stuff. It was... It was really interesting to kind of watch the aftermath of that goal as well, because I looked down and you could see Postecoglou kind of roared and did that punch at Pedro Porro, because he wanted to kind of make the point. That's because it started with you. Pedro Porro's tackle at the start set everything away. It destroys the press. I mean, we saw it with Spurs. Was against Bournemouth, wasn't it? We saw what can happen if you're at the other end of the pitch. And you suddenly lose the ball in a position that leaves you vulnerable, the whole dynamic of the move suddenly changes and so many people are out of position. That's exactly what happened with this goal. So, yeah, Postecoglou made a real point of praising Porro for his impact in that. He's very like that. He kind of likes to look at where things originate as much as what happens at the end of a move, which I think is what led to the whole assists are the most meaningless thing in football thing. But, yeah, I just kind of felt, as I said with the crowd, there's this understanding of how important this game was. There was, of course, people are disgruntled at the season, disgruntled at Postecoglou, disgruntled at players, disgruntled at the owners, Daniel Levy, Enoch, whatever. What they kind of didn't let seep into this match was that kind of disappointment. There was just a real support. I know it's a cliche, but it has to be said because it's true. When the fans get behind a team, they're the 12th man. It's yes, it is a cliche, but it's a fact as well. And physically they're not as a 12th man, but it does play such a huge part in the minds of both the home team, but the away team as well. And you could see RZ were rocked by it. They were. And I think even the noise immediately after RZ got a goal back, there was this kind of, like, come on, like, get back on it, Spurs kind of thing. And I think that negated a lot of the confidence sapping that moment could have done. And that was crucial, an assist from the crowd, although Postecoglou won't be happy with that. The assist, not the crowd. It was quite interesting as well. After Maddison's goal, talking about looking down and seeing things, alongside the dugout were all the injured players in their kind of casual clothes, as it were. Although some, like Richarlison, were wearing on-brand Spurs puffer jacket things. Actually, on that, we saw Rodrigo Bentancur came right through the corridor outside the media room, which very rarely see that. I don't know whether they're kind of linking up with family or something, but yeah, he walked straight through. Everyone was a bit of a double take. Obviously, suspended for the game, couldn't play. But yeah, I was watching down after the Maddison goal and just the craziness that ensued as soon as the ball hit the net. And I kind of had to double check. I think I saw it on TikTok. I think I saw it on where someone had got a really good shot. Maybe it was from the TNT Sports coverage. I don't know. But I could see them all going a bit mad. And when you actually drilled into it and saw what they were doing, it's kind of all led a little bit by Richarlison. Richarlison gets up and he's looking. He's like, what's going to happen? And then as soon as the ball goes in, he kind of goes mad. And he kind of just roars, really, surges towards the pitch. Doesn't go on it, but he surges towards it. And then he turns around, arms outstretched at the dugout, as if he's just scored the goal. Antonin Kinski kind of comes over to him. And he kind of shoulder barges Kinski. Kinski is a character. He's only not 21 years old, isn't he? But he is a character. I saw after the game, he grabbed Odobert, Kinski, and was put him in a headlock as they were going off. But yeah, so he gets shoulder barges by Richarlison. Kulusevski comes alongside them and starts pumping his fists at everything on the pitch, everyone. Danso was on the side roaring, just kind of roaring his approval of it all. Then Radu Dragishin, and I think that's the other thing, a lot of those players are probably thinking in their heads, Yes, second leg, quarter-final. We'll probably be there. We could be there. We'll be able to play in the quarter-finals of this competition. It's it's huge for them. Not Kinski, obviously, he's not registered, but certainly Richarlison, Danso, and Kulusevski. Hopefully they'll be fit. So there's they've got skin in the game, as it were. But then you've got someone like Radu Dragic, who's going to be out for months with his cruciate ligament injury. And he kind of came over and he grabs Richarlison's coat like that. And then they kind of had this little bit of a weird grapple thing, like two brothers having a play fight where Richarlison grabs Dragic's coat, which is like quite a smart looking coat, not a Spurs club one. And Dragic, who's a big, strong lad, isn't he? He kind of eventually swipes Richarlison's hand away, thinking, yeah, I don't want you actually ruining my jacket. It was just all fun. It was all done with affection. There's all excitement. Just this feeling, I guess, that Spurs had finally woken up and they were playing the football and got their confidence back. Because it's been a Spurs drained with confidence. Of course it has in recent weeks. Or months. That's what happens with everything that's happened. It's great English there. That's what happens with everything that's happened. Sorry. You can see I think I've got one bloodshot eye. It was a late night and an early start because Ange had another press conference today, which was fun. But yeah, it was cool to see them all kind of down there and just enjoying the moment, and the players on the pitch as well, and the confidence coming back. Some of the movement, around the goals as well. There was some lovely little phases of play and the triangles they use and everything. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like Maddison spoke afterwards, we were talking about the crowd. He explained what he was trying to do with the travelling fans. You remember I said there was 950 travelling fans, most of them in the corner at Alkmaar Stadium, the Afas Stadion, what accent that was. Yeah, he went over to them at the end and he was kind of explaining what he was doing in case there was any misinterpretation. He said, I went over to clap the fans that travelled out to Holland and we were getting a bit of stick, a bit of criticism, rightly so, because the performance was poor and not good enough. I tried to give a message of stay calm, it's only 1-0. And the positive was while we played poorly, it was only a 1-goal deficit because coming here, when the atmosphere is like that, pushing in the second half, it's going to be tough for any team. And I think RZ found it tough tonight because we pushed. That was the message I was trying to get across. I wasn't having a pop back at the fans because I went over to applaud them travelling, especially after a poor performance from the team, but just to say, stay calm, it's only 1-0 and they've got to come to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I knew it would be difficult for them, and with how we prepared and how ready we were for the game, we've obviously got to be better going forward in the quarterfinal and beyond away from home, but I knew it would be a tough night for RZ tonight. And that's the thing now, isn't it? From this point on, because of the way the draw came out, Spurs quarter-final against Frankfurt, and if they were to get through to the semi-final, both second legs would be away. And that's been the Spurs' kryptonite in Europe, hasn't it? Really is the away game. So, you could argue they could get a strong start maybe at home, and maybe that gives them the confidence going to the second leg, who knows? But they've got to do that, and also they've got to be much better away from home. The only real hiccup last night was that goal in the 62nd minute for RZ. It kind of came about after some good stuff, which was most annoying about it. It was Archie Gray put pressure on Troy Parrott. Troy Parrott plays a pass. Odobert makes a good 50, 60 yard run, comes back, intercepts the ball, does really well, passes it to Bergvall. Bergvall, I think he thinks that Odobert is going to stop his run and he's trying to knock it to Romero so Romero can then knock it to the right-hand side. But what happens is Odobert keeps running. Bergvall's pass hits Odobert's, ankle and bounces straight into the path of Pierre Koopmeiners, who just runs on and buries a shot inside the bottom left corner. Bit like with Sonny's pressing, it's just total misfortune of where the ball lands, but also a little mix-up in communication as well. And what was really unfortunate was that it was Odobert and Bergvall involved because they were both brilliant. They were so good last night. They were both an absolute pleasure to watch. Odobert was involved technically in every goal in the evening. We'll just focus on the 3 Tottenham goals, but you could argue he was involved in all 3. Technically got an assist, didn't he, for their goal? But that's, it's all just rewards, I think, for the battle and the kind of spirit he's shown in coming back from his injury. Because it was an injury and the surgery he had on his hamstring as well. I think there's a fair few people inside the club that thought maybe we'll see him back right at the end of the season, maybe. And there he was, back in training and everything in February, back playing in February, and now he's starting games and he's making a big impact. We've said this before, but it's about, with Odobert, he's got fabulous talent, got terrific dribbling ability, lovely technique, but the trick with him, not a trick, the kind of thing that has to be there is the end product. It hasn't been there too much in his career so far, but he is very young. And that for me in the last couple of games has been there. You've seen it. It's like, there's nice little stuff, but ultimately nothing at the end of it. This was a night when there was very much something at the end of it, and that was great. I think the fact that he did exactly what Brennan Johnson's been able to do is read the balls across really well and be there at the back post. That's huge. But also the driving run and the build up to Maddison's goal as well. It wasn't just that he was scored, two, people kind of call those tap-ins poacher goals, but actually there's a lot more to it. It's anticipation, it's movement, it's everything involved, and beating the offside and everything. And terrific performance from him. And it was lovely because he's quite a quiet, unassuming guy, I think. And Basuma Basuma did two things on the night when he came on. First was a really good block later in the game. And second was pushing Wilson Odobert in front of the South Stand. Just give him his little moment. He was the match winner. He was terrific. And I think he was voted man of the match as well by the fans. And it was a lovely little moment because you could see he was really bashful kind of thing. It was like that to the crowd. And they were really kind of applauded him back. And it was what he deserved, really. It was fantastic. The key for him now, I guess, is to find that consistency. Players love him. They kind of recognise, I think, a lot of the work he started to do off the ball as well. He said to improve that side of his game. That's part of it all. And Postecoglou spoke about him afterwards. He said, super pleased for him. He loves that expression, super pleased. Super pleased for him because he's worked awfully hard. I was excited when we signed him. He's one of these players who has the ability to take players on, find space, great technician, and super pleased for him to get his goals. He's worked hard silently and to get back in worked hard silently to get back into the team. Obviously, he came to a new club, a big move for him, and it didn't work out for him through no fault of his own, through the injury, and it's been frustrating for me not to be able to showcase him and know how much he can develop, and that's just a starting point for him. He's still working his way to full fitness. When you look at the likes of him and Lucas and Archie and two or three others we've got, there's some enormously exciting talent there. Talking about Bergvall. For Bergvall, Lucas Bergvall, the number 6 role is there. It's his. It's not even close right now. It's his. Yeah, he has to play there every game. He's that good, and he's just got the skill set for it now. He's got the ease on the ball, his ability to drive with it, just kind of slalom among challenges. Like I said before, traits of an early Modric. Not comparing him directly, just the traits of the body movement that he's got. His reading of the game is getting better and better, and he's got this growing physical presence now. He's strong. It just means he's a natural fit for the role, because you look at Basuma, you look at Rodrigo Bentancur, these are senior players, but they're actually not as disciplined for me as Bergvall has become in the role, and that's a big thing. He's 19 years old, and he turned 19 last month. Yet these two other guys, one a 3-time Serie A winner in Bentancur, 27 years old. Basuma, he's runner-up in Africa Cup of Nations, 28 years old. Loads of experience, both of them. And this 19-year-old is kind of showing them how to play the role. It's not to say that I haven't got traits that work in the role, but I just don't feel like either are a complete natural fit for it. So it'll be fascinating to see now kind of what happens the next time. If let's say, against Fulham, Bergvall starts and so does Bentancur. Does Bentancur end up playing in the 6th role? I kind of hope not. I just think Bergvall's so good in the role. And I think he's very good at taking the ball off the defence as well and kind of recycling it around the pitch. There was a nice moment. He made an interception on the far right-hand side of the penalty area, just outside it, I think, in the second half. And when he did it, he just turned to the crowd and went, roar, kind of thing, like this kind of Swedish roar. I don't know what a Swedish roar, if it sounds any different to a normal roar. But it was just brilliant. He's forging this really close connection with the crowd now. The crowd know what he's about. Because this is the weird thing about this season. For everything that's gone wrong, for everything that's been dreadful about this season, the one of the positives we can take away from it at its end is the likes of Bergvall and Gray getting blooded in this season, playing far more minutes than the plan probably ever was for them. But it's kind of been the best fast-track education they could have got. They've packed in probably about 3 years' worth of Premier League experience into one season. And doing so in tough situations and circumstances and energy levels and things like that. And you can just see it. You can see it in both of them. I think you can really see it in Lucas Bergvall right now. He's just absolutely flying. And his stats in the game, right? I know some people don't like stats. Some people do. But when you look at these stats, this just tells you the story of a game for this young player. 66 touch of the ball. He won every single one of his 7 ground duels, succeeded all 3 of his take-ons. No Spurs player won possession of the ball more times than the 8 times that Lucas did. 5 interceptions as well. No one made more than that. He only misplaced 4 of his 48 passes. 2 tackles he made, created 1 chance for a teammate, and he was fouled twice. He started to suffer from cramp at the end. Saw him go down. It was like, no. But it was cramp. It was great. I double-checked that with Ange today. And yeah, it was just cramp. So that's good. But what that allowed was he kind of came off, was it about 85th minute, something like that? Because he went off the far side, or was it behind the goal? One of the two. He had this little lap of appreciation that ended up being as he walked around the perimeter of the pitch, because all the crowd as he went past them was standing up and giving him an ovation as he went off. And it was nice. I think it was kind of fully deserved, really, because he was terrific. And Maddison spoke about him after the game. It was quite an interesting little thing he said. He was asked about him in the number 6 role, and he said, Lucas is a fantastic talent. You can sometimes forget how young he is. I think I misinterpreted him as a player. I thought he was more of a between the lines and technique kind of guy, but he's actually a bit of a lump and he gets about. He is, whenever he said that, when everyone started laughing. He's a big boy, he's powerful, he's technically very good, and I think the number 6 role really suits him because he can also drive forward, but he's learning the discipline under this gaffer of what it takes to be a number 6. I feel like he's getting better game by game and relishing playing here in front of our fans. Yeah, bright career ahead for the young man. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, but that was one thing I'd heard, that, you know, Maddison was among the senior players. All the squads behind Postecoglou. That is something that others haven't had in recent managers. Like when it got towards the end, that was a car going by. That wasn't any unfortunate air escaping from me. I should stress. But Maddison, he is never slow in trying to give credit to Postecoglou for things that have come from training or work or words that he said to the players. It's quite interesting because it's kind of this, I guess, assumption that Maddison hates him and all this sort of stuff because Maddison has not started every game. You know, he rests him sometimes, he takes him out when he doesn't feel like he's in full flow, and surely that must mean he dislikes him intensely, but he's actually quite quick at showing his support for the manager. We saw a glimpse of Archie Gray towards the end of the game after that when Lucas came off. So, who came on? Ben Davies, wasn't it? Ben Davies came on to replace Bergvall. Davies went into the back line. Gray came into the midfield, and we kind of got to see him in those last 11 minutes if you included added time. It was 4, maybe 9 minutes. But again, another little experience for him, and we got to see what we kind of all want to see. And I think we're all looking forward to the point when I'm sure Gray and Bergvall will become a double pivot for the ages. Pivot. Friends, fans don't know what I'm talking there. I've used that one before, but it just always makes me think of it whenever I say the word. Gray and Bergvall have both got the all-round versatility and skill set and technique to both be 6s and 8s. So when they eventually get to play together, when they're kind of at that stage and ready for that, you're going to see them kind of sharing duties. Sometimes one will stay back, the other will run forward. They've both got the ability to motor past someone. They've got the technique to hit a pass. They're going to be, they could be the future Spurs midfield for years to come. And you've got Sarr, Kulusevski can play there in the midfield as well. You've got obviously Maddison. Bentancur seems to be the contract talks, potentially of those. He could be sticking around. Bissouma, we'll see for next season. I don't know. Of course, there's talk about Johnny Cardoso as well from Real Betis and the option Spurs have with him. And I feel like I'm missing people really obvious in there as well. But that's really annoying. There's so many players back now. I was trying to work out what the bench was last night because it was all going to be because there was so many back. And there's still more to come. But yeah, it is exciting. And I've kind of put to Postecoglou that it must have been really exciting for him that on the night when the senior players stepped up, and they did, Sonny and Maddison were brilliant, Vicario very good, Romero kind of grew into the game. Again, I still think he's shaking a lot of rust off. But to have Son, Maddison, Romero and Vicario all together starting the game for the first time since October, but also having young players like Bergvall and Odobert starring, it's really exciting for him and kind of showing their own leadership abilities. And he said, yeah, massive, brilliant for us, brilliant for the club. Like I keep saying, we've got some really exciting talent. Lucas is growing all the time. People are getting a glimpse of what Wilson's all about. Shame what's happened to him this year, and he's still working his way from fitness, but I just thought the whole group handled it really well. It was great to have Romero and Mickey. We just looked so solid at the back. While they were out there, we never really looked like getting threatened. It just made us more solid as a team, so there's a lot of positives there. So that was last night. And then today, we had another press conference, as I said, with Postecoglou. I asked him 3 questions. There weren't many people there because there's an England press conference as well. And as I'm not a massive fan of international football, I don't do England stuff. I just do Tottenham Hotspur. So that meant there weren't many of us there in the press conference, which is nice in a way, especially when you see the 10:30 stuff. I'd watch out for the 10:30 stuff tonight. Some nice little bits and pieces. And Andrew went on a bit of a monologue. He kind of said something about it being a small room, so he was going to go off on this, and it's very interesting. It's worth I don't think everyone's going to agree with it, but I think it's kind of hard not to in certain aspects as well. So yeah, one to look out for after 10:30 tonight. But yeah, as it's always difficult to a press conference after a match, as in the day after a match, because you've kind of covered a lot of what you want to cover in the press conference immediately after the game. So you've got to think up new things. So I wanted to ask a couple about Lucas because it just fascinates me. I just think he's such a terrific player. And obviously I went out there to talk to him in Stockholm last year before he'd actually come across to Spurs. And yeah, I just think he's going to be a hell of a player. And I just kind of wanted to get a bit of an insight kind of behind the scenes into what it goes into, what they've done coaching-wise with him. And I asked him about what Maddison said about him being a bit of a lump and having kind of misinterpreted what kind of player he was going to be. And Postecoglou said, I think everyone has worked with him. The coaches have worked with him. He's worked on it. This is his physical side we're talking about. I don't think he's left Decky's side since he's been here. And Decky is in the gym all the time. He's a great role model for him. And I think if nothing else, Decky has forced him to get in there and work hard on his game. He's also an outstanding technical player. I think his technical proficiency is still his greatest asset. He's growing. You've got to remember he's only just turned 19. He's still a very young man. And if he keeps building up physically as well to the standard of the Premier League, particularly in that midfield position you need, if you have that physical ability and that technical proficiency, then you've got a decent player on your hands. So I love that. The little idea that, and I've seen it. I've seen it on the tour. I've seen it around various stadiums when they turn up, that absolutely he does follow Decky around. Not like a lost puppy or anything, more like a kind of a sibling thing, I think. Like the young brother kind of thing. But I love the fact that because Decky works out so much, and he's obviously, we know he's a big, strong guy, that he's just been in there with him and has started doing it and following by example. So that was the kind of behind the scenes thing I kind of wanted to know. I hadn't even really thought about that. I also asked him about the discipline that Bergvall's showing now, because as I said earlier, it feels to me like at 19 years old, he's kind of more disciplined in the role than likes of Bentancur and Basuma have been at times this season. And he rightly pointed out, Postecoglou, it's not always been there. It's something that's come along this season with Bergvall. He says, I think he's had to work on that. Fair to say, when he first got here, the coaches spent a lot of time with him, working on his tactical awareness and being disciplined. And again, a big thing you look for in players is their coachability and their ability to take in information, and then the ability to take that information to help them improve. He's certainly taken that on board. At the start, it took him a little bit of time. He tended to run too much. I remember a couple of early games in Europe when he just ran out of steam because he was running too much. He was maybe overplaying the ball at times. He's simplified his game, and the coaches have given him feedback, and he's taken that on board. So that, for me, that's what I want to get out of press conferences. It's not going to be for everyone, especially some of the media. And I think hopefully they get that about me, is that they'll come in with these kind of very general, kind of national themes that their readers, general readers, not Spurs fans, some Spurs fans, but mainly just general readers will want to know. And that's great. There's a lot of news lines that come out of that as well. But I think there's a few of us that like to just drill down a bit, just trying to specialise and stuff. Get specialist information from Postecoglou. He's our source to do that. He's the guy that we can actually go to and ask these things. So for me, when I thought, okay, I've got an extra chance to kind of have another press conference here, I don't want to just ask any old let's get in there and just delve a little bit deeper into what's kind of made this version of Lucas Bergvall that, at such a young age wasn't really there yet, wasn't fully formed, and still isn't fully formed. Hopefully people get it by now that my questions will be a little bit different. That's the point. Not always saying they're great questions. Sometimes they don't work. But hopefully, on the whole, the managers seem to respond quite well. I think maybe because they're not the same repetitive questions they'll get from members of national media that maybe aren't there every week and stuff like that. So, yeah, I just find it really interesting. That's the nerdy side of me. I find the whole building blocks behind players fascinating and how they get to where they are, because it's, let's be honest, something we'd all love to do. If we love football, we wanted to be a footballer. Of course we did. I did. I'm trying to do the next best thing I could possibly think of beyond coaching or actually being a player, and that's writing about it. Writing about people that are good enough to do it. And I'm fascinated by what makes them tick and everything. And did this, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last video or not. I think I might have done. I spoke to Aaron Lennon in the week, and just to get the chance to interview a player who, has... Oh, no, maybe I didn't speak about it in the last video. It might have been... What are we at? Thursday? Monday? Oh, no, maybe I did. I can't remember now when I did my last video. Oh, my goodness, I'm so tired. But anyway, if I did, I'm sorry. But if I didn't, Lennon was one of my favourite kind of players in terms of as a duo. I loved the Lennon and Bale era as the two wingers. I just thought it gave opposition teams such a nightmare, and I was really fascinated to get behind that and kind of dig into that. And I think if you read the interview, he seemed to respond to that. And again, I'm not tooting my own trumpet or anything. I'm just saying I think it's nice sometimes for these players just to get a little bit of a deeper question than maybe general themes and stuff, and they're probably more comfortable with that because they're like, okay, well, I can talk about myself. I know how it happened. I know how I became this. I know what I worked on. I know what happened behind the scenes because I was there. It was me. Anyway, sorry, tangent. I know I go on tangents. Back to the game itself. In terms of RZ threatening, not really much, to be honest. Troy Parrott tried his best, mostly involved in a bit of a kind of a running battle with Romero all game. There was no love lost for a former Tottenham player from Romero. I think Parrott went down early in the game and Romero went over to him and yelled in his face while he was on the floor. And there was a lot of kind of knocking into each other and bashing into each other. Fair play to Troy Parrott. He tried to give as good as he got. And look, their goal was a gift. It really was. I was trying to think what else there was. Parrott forced Vicario to save a little bit later. And then the follow-up, that was the one where Basuma blocked it. Other than that, I can't really think of too much that kind of they really created. And that was the problem for them, was that when Spurs kind of got ahead in the tie, they had to come out, and Spurs looked like the ones that were going to score another goal. And it was, like I said, an absolute gift that they gave RZ to get back into the game. It looked like Tottenham were going to be the next team to score again. But yeah, otherwise, pretty much a night of positives, really. Certainly for a lot of the players coming back and getting fitter and sharper as well. You had Romero and Van der Ven. Finally, we had their reunion from the start. Just a reunion in general, isn't it? Hour long they got together. I suppose it just looks so much better with them on the pitch. There's no getting away from it. They do. Their styles complement each other, and they just bring something a little bit different to what the other centre-backs do. And actually, Van der Ven did a little interview afterwards. I think it was Tom Barkley from The Sun. Maybe did the bulk of it. I can't remember. Or maybe it's someone could be doing a disservice. Or he certainly maybe was involved in it. But yeah, he spoke about Postecoglou. He said, this is Van der Ven, we all have the trust in the gaffer and the team. It's been a really difficult season for us, of course, but we showed our mentality and hopefully we can build on this and take it into the next round. He was asked about his own season. He said, yep, really difficult. It's been a long time. My first injury happened against City and then against Chelsea, a re-injury, and afterwards some little problems. It was really tough, but I'm really happy to be back and just make sure I'm staying fit now for the rest of the season. And he was asked kind of what happened after Elfsborg, coming back and then not being available. He said it was just some problems and I didn't really feel comfortable. That was the thing. The gaffer and the medical team made a decision to manage me for training and match minutes to make sure I was 100% fit when I did come back. I was 100% fit for sure, but after the Elfsborg game, I didn't really feel comfortable by myself. Maybe that's meant to be within myself. But I wanted to keep pushing, but they made the decision to keep me back to make sure I was 100% good. So yeah, you know, I think that's credit to Postecoglou. I know people are often looking for excuses to bash him right now, but he could have quite easily just been like, my job might be on the line here. We need to win. I'm throwing Van der Ven in. Sorry, I'm going to be selfish here. But he wasn't. He's kind of waited and waited and waited with him until he was absolutely sure he was ready. And yeah, I'm sure he won't get credit for it, but I just thought it was quite interesting. Oh, and he was asked about his running style and the changes, and apparently it was something similar that happened at Volendam early in his career. He said, of course, you need to do your running technique, and I also did it at Volendam. I know what to do, and that's the thing, but now also they help me. Outside Spurs specialists came in to help me with my hamstring and help me with different things, so it's really good to have them here. So yeah, essentially another instance where Spurs and the player have kind of sought specialist treatment or advice, I guess, consultation. I think Postecoglou said that before, didn't he? Getting people in to help him with it. It was asked where he was able to play 3 games a week, and he said, I feel good, so we're going to see what happens now. Be interesting to see, after playing an hour, you'd imagine he probably might start on Sunday, maybe alongside Gray. I don't know if you played Davies and Van der Ven together, but maybe alongside Gray. I'm not sure. Romero, 3 games in a week, that's a big ask. Actually, on Romero, I did ask, that was my 3rd question of the day, technically 4th, because I just checked on whether Lucas did just only have cramp. I asked about the social media posts, because we all realised after the previous press conference on a Wednesday, nobody had asked about Romero tweeting and Instagramming, Xing and Instagramming, his thanking the Argentina medical staff for getting him back on the pitch. And we all just kind of forgot to ask and amidst everything that was happening. So I thought, okay, I can ask about that. And I asked it not in a kind of confrontational way. I just said, you know, is this something that's maybe a common thing for players who've got long-term injuries or bigger injuries about going back to medical staff that they've trusted over the years? You know, you see it a lot. Certainly in South American kind of players have maybe a lot of doctors they've used forever, you know, just ones from when they were young. But also other players in European competition as well. So I kind of asked it that way. Is it just another example of that? Is that common? That was the way I said it. And he said, it depends. Those kind of things is Postecoglou. These kind of things are individual. They're designed around the players. For us, what's important, what's always important, is that you treat the individual and each person needs something different. What we want to do is get the best outcome. With Kuti, he's obviously very important to the Argentinian national setup as well, so they're always offering their assistance. I think it's been a combination of both, them and us coordinated. He spent a bit of time away from here working with them, and for us the key thing is that he's back now and he's still building up. He's missed a lot of football this season. He's hardly played, but I think the 2 games he's played, you can see that he's growing into it. And hopefully with the international break, he'll get an opportunity to build that up further. So yeah, hopefully that's a good thing for Spurs. 2 big matches they've got. I think it might even be Uruguay and Brazil, perhaps. They're going to be nice, calm affairs, I'm sure. But yeah, no injuries, please. But on the flip side, actually get Romero some kind of match minutes and make him sharper for Tottenham for when he comes back as well. Would be lovely. Who else? Dominic Solanke, 2 assists on the day. He's just so crucial as that focal point. He really is. That's 19 goal involvements now in 32 matches for him. So yeah, and they were good assists. They were. I know Ange might not like his assists, but they were both important assists. Son, Maddison, both very good. Both, there was a bit of criticism about them not starting at the weekend, but they both looked refreshed for it. It worked. Thought Maddison was excellent throughout. Thought Sonny was excellent throughout. Sonny was just a running machine. He was so good in terms of his kind of defensive play as well. And every time he ran with the ball, they looked terrified. And he made some really good decisions. Obviously got an assist as well, but played a big part in the 3rd goal. Yeah, very good indeed. And you think about all of that, and there's more options. There's more players to come back. Kulusevski was Spurs Player of the Season, and I know this is no one wants to see him injured or out for a month or so. I think there's some suggestion he might still be in his protective boot. I think it might have been Tom Barkley I mentioned earlier. I think he took a photo and apparently people could see he was still in his boot. But one benefit or positive you're going to take from that is Decky gets a big rest. And when he comes back, he could light it up for the final, couple of months of the season. Because, yeah, it's if we get the Decky that we got at the start of the season, he was running riot. He absolutely was. So, fingers crossed. That would be wonderful. Postecoglou was asked about it, kind of the team looking more like themselves last night. And he said, it's no coincidence. We're getting some of our key players back. We've got guys who are getting decent recovery between games, and we can change the team a fair bit. Don't forget Sonny and Maddison didn't start the weekend. We can do these things that allow us to prepare the team properly. We did look more like ourselves, but we've still got levels to go because I still think players like Romero, Mickey and Wilson and Dom, that sounds like a pop group, and all these guys are still building their way up to match fitness and match sharpness. With the quarterfinal being 3.5 weeks away, there's an opportunity for us to get these guys up to speed for that game. Before all that, we've got the Premier League, final game before the international break. Fulham, Craven Cottage, which was a dreadful game last season. It's probably going to all feel a little bit like after the Lord Mayor's show. They've got to try and avoid that, Spurs. I think he'll probably make quite a few changes. I think you need to. I think a doggy comes into that team. Bentancur certainly comes into that team. Probably Brennan Johnson comes in that team. And then you've got to decide who else. Bergvall getting cramped towards the end. Does he maybe have a rest from this game? Like I said, Romero, does he come out and Gray comes in? Who gets the rest if a doggy's coming in? Spence or Porro? Where else? I think you maybe have to play Solanke again. Does Tell come in for Son, perhaps? Yeah, maybe. You've got Mikey Moore floating about there as well. He's going to need to get some more minutes as well. I do get the impression they're taking it quite carefully with Mikey. Obviously, he was out for a long time, and I think he's still kind of feeling his way back as well. I would have loved to see him against Arsenal because he caused them such a nightmare before. But I do think the fact they can kind of treat him almost like a 17-year-old again now because they've got the options back. They're not having to make him play in these big kind of physical games when he's still learning his trade. And like Bergvall, his body is going to be strengthened. I saw him today. We were at the press conference. There was a five-a-side, I think, tournament going on. I think it was various supporters clubs at Hotspur Way. Lots of them came in, very nice people. Lots of them coming over and saying hello and everything. But I also had the actual delight, not of seeing a reporter, but of seeing Mikey Moore, because Mikey, being an academy player, still comes in and out of the academy entrance. And the academy entrance is the main entrance where people like just kind of the general public will come in. And they came inside after their tournament. And as they were coming in at one point, Mikey was coming through and he had to do loads of like selfies and stuff. He was all very happy to do it. But you kind of look at him when he's in those scenarios, standing next to kind of adults, and you do realise he's still got a 17-year-old's frame, and that will flesh out and build. And like Bergvall, he will become bigger and stronger. And once he's got that allied to his incredible ability, he's going to be some player. But yeah, it's just about patience, isn't it? That's all it is. I know it's difficult when we kind of things aren't going well and you think, I want to see him because he's incredible talent. But you're also wary that he needs his time to kind of grow as well, and learning on the job, as it were. What else was I going to say? But that was nice. Yeah, it was nice to see Mikey kind of getting a little bit of attention. I did think he wasn't going to get into the training ground at one point. With Spence obviously, and James Maddison didn't get into the England squad today. Maddison, even though, because Tuchel did that little bit, didn't he, where he was speaking to lots of players, and Maddison had that chat, Spence hadn't. So maybe there was more chance that Maddison might get in, but I kind of felt with Spence, it's a bit mad, really. It's like, he was in the Player of the Month nominations, the only fullback to get in those nominations. So that suggests he's the best fullback in the Premier League last month. Fair few like string of Man of the Match awards. And he's just been terrific. And I think, Postecoglou was asked about it today, and he just says, you just got to keep cracking on. It's not the door's not closed or anything. It's very much now, there's your challenge, get in there. And hopefully that's how he takes it. As that's certainly how he's taken the challenge at Spurs. So I have no doubt he will continue to do that for the England side of things as well. And same for Maddison, really. There's one journalist, I don't know if it's a name or not, who has the theory that Maddison's best performances always come ahead of an England squad announcement. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure he's had many games where he's been terrific. His stats this season are really good, aren't they? I feel like he's had, is it maybe 17 goal involvements? I think he's pretty close to Solanke, which is a great return. But I don't know. But look, Fulham this weekend, but of course, this week was all about getting through in the Europa League, getting through to those quarterfinals, giving us all something to kind of hold on to for the season, for at least the next month or so. Eintracht Frankfurt are the opponents in the next round. Like I say, home first, second leg away. I think it's 10th and 17th of April. Big games are going to be tough side. Yeah, they've lost a few key players this season. But they still can cause anyone a bit of a nightmare, as Ajax found in the round of 16. So, yeah, we'll see what the trip back to Frankfurt brings again. We did that under Conte, didn't we, in the Champions League not too long ago. It's an interesting place, Frankfurt. That's what I'll say. It's interesting. It's got some very nice bits. It's got some very not so nice bits. But yeah, intrigued to go back next month. We're in this kind of strange phase now. Postecoglou can say, look, Premier League, 3 wins and a draw in the last 5 games. We're through to the quarterfinals of the Europa League. But of course, it doesn't mask just a pants season. It doesn't. And on the rest of the side, obviously it got to semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, didn't get past that. They were playing the best team in the country. FA Cup, it kind of started. It had its moments and then petered out. But there's no denying the Premier League has just not been good enough. But it is quite interesting that kind of taken in isolation with recent Premier League and the Europa League, it's a little bit like, oh, please be a corner turned, please. We want something this season to kind of seize on. And like I said earlier, I think the key thing with Postecoglou is that he does have the squad behind him, and like a unified squad as well. It's not like certain people feel they owe him anything or something like that. They actually are generally all behind him. They want him to succeed. Whereas, just don't feel like. I think even Romero said in an interview after Conte went that he just kind of felt that the squad was divided into these kind of factions, and it doesn't seem to be any case or hint of that now. It seems quite a tight together squad, and I think that's probably been forged through the whole injury stuff as well, in a weird kind of byproduct of that. But yeah, and he's proud of them all. He was. He said that after the game. He said, I think the way we handled it was important. As much as you try to block out the outside noise, it doesn't bother me, but I'm sure the players and the whole club were aware tonight it was a big night for us. When you're already 1-0 down, you can get really anxious about it, but I never felt that. Up until we gave them that first goal, I thought the lads handled it superbly. They were in control. They looked good. They looked strong. They looked dominant, aggressive, and threatening in the front third. All the things we want to be. I think Mickey coming off disrupted us a little bit. We had to change a couple of things, and we gave them a goal that changed the momentum of the game to make it a bit more nervy than it needed to be. But yeah, on what was a big night, I couldn't be happier with the players, the way the players tackled it, and it's a credit to them. So yeah, in this messiest of seasons, I mean, Spurs have somehow kept hope alive of something special being at the end of it all. And that is, to be fair, the message that he's constantly been saying behind the scenes. All the players have said that. He's like, this season's not done. We can have something very special at the end of it all. It would be remarkable after this season. And, they say, it's a fact, isn't it? Pressure creates diamonds. And this was a night when two diamonds in particular for me, Odobert and Bergvall, shone brightly among their senior colleagues. They really did. And I'm sure Postecoglou and all of us will be hoping for many more dazzling nights to come in the weeks ahead, because it would be amazing. Can you imagine, after all of the pain and torture they've put us through this season, to have something special at the end of it? We've got this extra kind of bonus time now. Got an extra 2 games in this European competition. Hopefully the Premier League games start to turn as well, with everyone being fit and fresh and ready for them. Fingers crossed, no international break injuries. And yeah, it would just be incredible if they could now put something together and harness a little bit of confidence and momentum. It would be amazing. So yeah, that's it. That's Tottenham. That is Tottenham. Like I say, look out for the 10:30 stuff tonight. There's some interesting bits and pieces in there. I am still doing my marathon training. I have to. People often ask about it. And yeah, it's still going along. Tuesday was a day off, so I did a 19-mile run, which was, weirdly, the 2 18-mile ones were completely fine. The 19-mile one, I was wiped at the end of it. I fell asleep. I just got back in and just fell asleep for about 2 hours. I think I messed up my hydration. I think I messed up the little energy fuels I was supposed to have and timing them and everything. I was wiped. There was also a very strange sight on this one. Last time I had a dog bite. This time was, I came around this bend and this kind of country trail that I run down, and there was this lady knelt down by a dog. She was wearing these like flesh-coloured leggings. She was knelt down by a dog. And as I kind of got closer, I thought something was wrong. And as I got closer, I realised they're not flesh-coloured leggings. She had pulled her trousers down, was peeing next to a dog. And I was like, okay. And she was like, I'm sorry, I didn't think anyone was around. And I was just like, it's all right, we all need to go at some point. And I'm kind of running while looking away at like hedges and stuff. And I'm thinking, I'm so going to stand in a massive pothole or something. And it was all very, very awkward. Yeah, I have some eventful runs. I think when you're running 19 miles, you're out for so long, like 3 hours or so, there's a lot of chance for things to happen, especially along the route I go. It's not like pavements and stuff. It's all kind of country trails, and it's an experience. I do that because it's softer and it stops my knees from absolutely being destroyed by pavements. But I've got a 20-mile run planned tomorrow. I've said this before, I'm a little bit ahead in my training because I'm heading off for an international break in the international break, which was pre-planned before I decided I was going to do the marathon or got a place in it. So the holiday is actually not the ideal time in my marathon training. So I'm kind of getting these longer runs in. So I'm really not looking forward to a 20-mile run tomorrow. I think that's probably the highest, like the longest I'll go ahead of the day. I think I'll leave the last 6 miles kind of in the bank to do on the day. But yeah, I'm going to try and sort my hydration out so I'm not absolutely dead by the time I come back. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try and do a little bit of running on the holiday if I'm allowed. But we'll see. We'll see how that works. But I should be back on Monday with a video talking about Fulham and looking ahead to what comes next over the international break and the games after. Because it's technically 2 weekends missed, isn't it? It's a weird international break, this one. Or it's a weird scheduling of fixtures because in the midweek, aren't they, when they come back? So yeah, I'll be back Monday as long as the 20-mile-an-hour run didn't go horribly wrong. That will be I was going to say that'll be a story. Probably not. I don't think anyone will be that fussed. But yeah, someone else will have to do these videos. So I'll just get Indy, the dog. He can come up and just do the videos for the rest of the time. Yeah, there you go. That was a very dark way to end it. I didn't mean to. Especially after such kind of a positive video. We've got lots of nice stuff to talk about. But there you go. That's it. Someone was very frustrated. Their OCD, I think the last video stopped at 59 minutes or 59 seconds. So I've just kept going over a couple of seconds for them to make them feel better. Time to head off. Back on Monday. Fingers crossed there's something decent on Sunday as well. Just to keep the mood and momentum going. That would be beautiful. And yeah, I shall see you then. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I shall catch you later. Goodbye.